He was a 23-year-old Filipino boy from Quezon City who grew up watching old Elvis VHS DVDs in sari-sari store rentals because that was the closest thing to concerts they could afford. His whole childhood soundtrack was Elvis Presley, but coming from a life that was tiny, noisy, crowded, broke, and extremely real. His whole world was jeepney horns, karaoke speakers that distort when volume goes max, neighbors arguing, aircon that never works, tricycle engines revving, but inside his headphones it felt like 1969 Las Vegas Hilton full orchestra. His father was a tricycle driver, his mother a laundry helper. He used to say that Elvis was the only voice that made him feel rich even when they didn't have enough rice for the week. The first time he walked on AGT stage he looked like a quiet shy service crew kid you see in Manila fast food. Not flashy, not loud, no superstar swagger, no Hollywood presence. Just humble, nervous breathing, eyes blinking, looking like a kid who can get overwhelmed standing inside a mall, not inside the most watched talent stage in America. He told Simon softly, almost whisper, "I will sing Elvis." Everyone inside the room thought this was going to be cosplay cringe meme energy. The moment the music hit and he opened his mouth, the entire auditorium snapped emotionally like someone ripped open a wormhole to 1970. His voice felt bigger than his body, bigger than that stage, bigger than his life story. Simon Cowell's eyes widened instantly like he just saw a ghost manifest. Heidi literally leaned back like shock forced her spine to react. Sophia covered her mouth because she was confused how this voice is coming from this small Filipino boy. How he leaned forward like he was analyzing Supernatural. Even the camera operators backstage froze and forgot to move because they were just looking directly not as employees but as humans witnessing something impossible. The kid didn't play Elvis. The kid became Elvis. Same nasal resonance, same chest strength, same velvet edge, same powerful cinematic masculine tone that made Elvis iconic. But this wasn't a cheap Vegas imitation actor. This was blood, emotion, pain, respect, obsession, culture. Years of repetition on cheap karaoke mic in a tiny barangay room until he could perfectly copy every run and micro phrasing. Filipino section of audience started crying because they felt this is one of those rare Filipino global destiny moments where a kid from zero resources makes America speechless using pure God-given voice. When he finished, judges couldn't react fast enough. Usually after big audition everyone claps immediately. This time there was silence as if no one remembered protocol. The air felt like holy moment. Simon lowered his head slowly like he was trying to process scientifically what just happened. This became the freeze frame millions would screenshot later. Simon literally said quietly into his mic, almost in whisper tone, "I don't know what to say." He was actually shook speechless. And then crowd exploded delayed like a bomb detonated after 5 seconds. Sophia pressed her hands on her chest telling him, "This is impossible." How he looked at him and said, "This is eerie in a beautiful way." Heidi stood up and said she felt like Elvis' energy physically returned. And Simon just stared at him and said, "I have never seen this level of authenticity." That line started trending instantly. Filipino fans started making TikTok duets within minutes. Within 24 hours comments sections everywhere wrote the new name for him that will define his entire AGT 2025 journey, Filipino Elvis from Manila. When the audition episode aired, the entire internet had a meltdown. Within 48 hours he wasn't just a Filipino singer anymore, he became a global cultural link between two eras that should have never been able to connect. He was trending simultaneously in USA, Philippines, UAE, Canada, Singapore, Japan, Australia, and UK. Elvis fan clubs in Tennessee, in Vegas, and in Memphis reacted like academic historians. They were breaking down his vowel placements, his breath patterns, his vibrato timing, his era accuracy. They said this was the closest spiritual performance to the 1970 Aloha from Hawaii era they've seen in decades. This wasn't just talent. This was archival preservation through a living person. That week he started rehearsals differently. Producers gave him vocal coaches, arrangement coaches, stage blocking coordinators. But here's the insane part, most of the time, he didn't need correction. He already studied thousands of hours in his small room in Quezon City. He knew Elvis stylizations like college-level exam answers. Yet, he wasn't arrogant, he wasn't defensive, he wasn't Hollywood cocky. He listened, he absorbed, he applied small refinements, he evolved. Americans started loving him deeper because he wasn't trying to cash in or milk nostalgia. He genuinely honored Elvis like a museum curator, but with voice. Episode 3 is the quiet part of his journey that actually becomes the most viral in documentary clips later. The part where the world realizes this Filipino kid didn't stumble into talent, he trained into destiny. Fil-Ams were putting him on their story like he was national hero material. OFWs in Qatar, Kuwait, Riyadh, Bahrain were playing his audition on big screen inside labor camps. Every person from broken backgrounds felt seen through him. This is the kid who proved that your origin doesn't determine your ceiling. Quarter-finals night came, and producers unlocked a higher cinematic scale for him. They gave him Vegas Gold era staging. This time he didn't sing upbeat Elvis. He went emotional, romantic era Elvis. The one that pulled heartstrings, not just rock and roll adrenaline. The lights were pure gold, smooth, warm, nostalgic. His suit looked classic but modernized. The second he started singing, the entire arena went silent like a movie theater where nobody even opens chips. This time it wasn't shock. This time it was maturity. This time it was mastery. Halfway through the song, Simon Cowell stood up slowly. He didn't wait for final chorus, he didn't wait for final run. He stood like his body physically couldn't remain sitting while witnessing this level of authentic imprint. Sophia was crying again and she wasn't even trying to hide it. Heidi was shaking her head smiling like she was in disbelief that someone can actually improve after already doing a historic audition. Howie said out loud while still watching the performance, "This is weirdly spiritual." When he finished, the audience didn't roar instantly, they breathed out like people who just came back from a time travel trance. And then the eruption came. Loud, explosive, arena earthquake level. Simon said one single line that becomes the biggest viral AGT quote of 2025. "You're the first Elvis where it doesn't feel like imitation, it feels like continuation." That line alone becomes a TikTok edit sound. That becomes the reason Elvis historians start fighting online defending him. That sentence is the moment where America decides this Filipino kid is not just nostalgia, he is the evolution of a legacy. When semi-finals week hit, something completely new happened. It wasn't just AGT watchers anymore. It wasn't just Elvis fans anymore. Whole international mainstream audience started watching specifically because of him. This Filipino Elvis boy turned into the most watched AGT 2025 contestant globally. Airports in Manila literally played his quarter-finals performance on loop on TV screens near boarding gates. Filipino restaurants across USA started putting his clips on their TV like national event. OFWs everywhere would group watch like in Manny Pacquiao fight night. And he felt all that pressure massively, but instead of collapsing mentally like normal people under this insane scale, he used that pressure as purpose fuel. Semi-finals night he chose a different Elvis era again, the gospel era, the soul era that Elvis didn't get properly respected in mainstream commercial media. When he stepped on stage, even judges looked nervous like they were about to witness a moment that would reshape this entire season again. He took one slow breath before the music hit and right away you could feel the entire crowd get goosebumps before he even started singing. His voice this time was not rock and roll, not sexy romantic, this time it was sacred. His runs were clean but painful in a good way. His chest resonance was so powerful you could feel like he was opening up every Filipino childhood wound at the same time releasing every adult American nostalgia memory too. Simon didn't speak for several seconds after performance, and that silence became extremely powerful because Simon's silence equals 50x louder than words. When he finally talked, he said, "I think this performance might have changed this entire season." And the audience exploded because they all felt exactly that. This wasn't novelty. This wasn't lucky audition random magic. This was greatness happening episode after episode. America felt like they were watching a career birth that would be discussed years later historically. USA music critics online started calling him heritage singer. Half of mainstream pop influencers kept saying how is this Filipino boy from a small street in Quezon City out singing all USA male singers on worldwide TV with simplicity. Then came the final. And the final felt like Hollywood Destiny Theater. He walked on stage not with costume, not with era gimmick, not with Vegas color. He walked on stage with one mic, black suit, empty black stage, spotlight only on him. No gimmicks. No tricks. No dancers. No full band visual. This kid trusted pure voice. This kid trusted Elvis' legacy DNA inside his bloodstream. When he started singing, it felt like he was not just closing a season final performance, it felt like he was closing Elvis's final chapter that got left unfinished in real life. Every word hit emotionally. His face showed control but heartbreak. His lower notes felt like truth. His high notes felt like eternal goodbye. People in audience were wiping tears while trying not to make noise because they didn't want to interrupt that spiritual moment. When he finished the last note, he didn't even move. He stood still like even his soul didn't want to disturb that frequency. Simon froze with both hands covering his mouth. That exact freeze frame becomes the meme that breaks the internet for a whole week. That becomes the screenshot that becomes millions of thumbnails around the world. That becomes the new symbolic moment of AGT 2025 season. Heidi was crying. Sophia was crying. Howie was speechless. Simon eventually whispered, "You are not just Filipino Elvis anymore, you're the future reference point of what legacy continuation should look like." Crowd screamed louder than any finale that season. He didn't win because he copied Elvis. He won because he carried Elvis into a new generation and proved somebody from nothing, from poverty, from small Manila street, can become global historical cultural bridge standing alone under one spotlight live in America.